My name is Dennis, and honestly, I'm a pretty normal guy. This won't be a story of how I dealt with extreme hardships or how I overcame some tragic situation, but rather a story of discovering who I am and my journey so far. So let's get into it. I was born on June 5th, 1996 in Canada, more specifically in Alberta, and even more specifically in the city of Edmonton. At the time, I was the youngest in the family, and before me was my brother, who is 2 years older than me. My mom and dad both immigrated from Ukraine, so they spoke both Russian and English to us. My parents didn't have much money, but we were getting by just fine. When I was about 3, we moved to Nashville, Tennessee. My mom was working, so my brother and I attended a preschool. This is where I had my very first memory. All I remember is me drawing all over the chalkboard with a red marker, and the teacher got really mad at me. The memory immediately ends at that point, which technically makes that one moment the start of my whole life. When I was 4, my dad got a job as a math professor at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg, which is back in Canada. We got a house there, and I started going to kindergarten. This is where my story truly begins. I made friends with this one kid who didn't talk, like, at all. Everyone thought there was something wrong with him, but one day we were playing in the sandbox and he started talking out of nowhere. After that, we became best friends. Right from the get-go, I was extremely creative. Throughout kindergarten and grade 1, I would draw dozens of comic books. My teachers were really impressed with them and even asked me to share them with the whole class. About once a week, I would have a new comic book made, and the entire class would come sit on the floor and I would read out loud and show them every single page. There was even a little box in the class that had all my books for kids to come and read one whenever they'd like. Eventually though, kids became too cool to read my comic books, so I stopped making them. My whole life, up until very recently, has just been me trying to fit in. I've always had an obsession with being cool and fitting in, and I would do things that weren't really me. Because of that, I became a pretty bad kid. I was constantly getting into trouble and given detention almost every week. When I was in 2nd grade, every day at lunchtime, there was a milk stand where kids would trade milk tickets that they bought from the school for little cartons of chocolate milk. Me, being crafty and pretty good at drawing, made fake milk tickets and would give them to my friends so they could go get free milk using these little pieces of paper that I drew on to make it look like one of the real tickets. It worked for a while until someone told on me and I got detention for weeks. Around this time was when my brother and I discovered computer games. My dad used this really old Windows desktop computer and he would let us play online mini games. For the most part, my brother would play and I would sit beside him and watch for hours. Some of my fondest memories are my brother and I sneaking up at like 4 in the morning just so we could go play more games together. I started developing a passion for video games, and pretty soon I was on the computer for hours a day. It was around this point where I realized that one day, I myself wanted to make video games. When I was about 10 years old, I lost pretty much all my friends from elementary school. There was no specific reason. They ended up becoming the popular kids, and I still had my best friend. We met a couple other kids that were a lot like us, and we all stuck by each other. Throughout the next few years, I was really quiet and kept to myself, and so did my friends. When we hung out, we would laugh and scream and make really weird noises, but when we were in public, we were pretty much the exact opposite. We were never really bullied or anything, we just kind of kept away from any sort of drama or attention. The only thing people did know me for, though, was my videos. And no, not my YouTube videos, I mean my video projects that we'd be assigned in class. If any teacher ever announced a video project would be coming up, kids would all be really excited to see what I put together. Some of my best memories from school were when kids would laugh and compliment me after watching my movies in class. Keep in mind, I was very quiet, so it was a pretty big deal for me to be getting this much attention. Then high school came. My parents insisted I went to a private school, which was really far away from the public school all my friends were going to. It really sucked at first, but it forced me to really step out of my comfort zone and meet new people. I didn't have anyone. It was one of the first times in my whole life I truly felt on my own. I had this idea that since nobody knew who I was, I could be whoever I wanted to be. It sounds like a bad thing when I say I wasn't truly myself, but really, it wasn't. I didn't have to be this quiet, introverted guy who always kept his head down anymore. I could finally build up the confidence to actually go and meet people. I know it's easier said than done. Stepping out of your comfort zone is one of the hardest things to do, but all you gotta do is take that first big step. You need to forget about everything else in the world, in the entire universe. Just flush out every negative thought and focus all of your energy only on that one thing, whether it be meeting someone or asking someone out, anything. You just got to take that first leap of faith, and then the rest takes care of itself. On July 23rd, 2011, I made my first YouTube video. At this point in my life, I watch YouTube videos for hours every single day. One day, I decided I wanted to be a YouTuber too, so I downloaded a screen recorder on my slow, crummy laptop and made my first Minecraft Let's Play. After the first week, it got about 20 views, but that didn't stop me. Over time, I started seeing the same people comment on my videos every time I made a new one, which meant I had followers. And this was enough to make me post a video every single day for over a year. Through this, I became a part of this small community of YouTubers who were just starting out and doing their own thing. This is how I met my friend Fletch, who I actually still work with today, but we'll get to that later. Around this time, I also met one of my best friends named Braden. Some of you may know him as Coral. Little side note, this is the same time I met Sam and Gent. So anyways, Braden and I both had small Let's Play channels and decided to be in a few of each other's videos. Pretty soon, we were talking and playing games together every day. After about a year, it seemed like I put my heart and soul into my channel and it was simply going nowhere. I didn't know what to do, so I just kind of lost interest, so I stopped. This was also around the time my parents divorced. My mom moved into a condo across town and my dad married my now stepmom, and her and my now stepbrother moved into my dad's house within a year. And the next thing I knew, I had a whole new family. At first, it was hard. This place that I knew inside and out and have lived in for over 10 years, all of a sudden, didn't really feel like home anymore. Don't get me wrong, I love my new family so much. It was just a lot to get used to. Constantly moving between my mom and dad's place, which were both across the city from each other, didn't really help. Since the dream of being a YouTuber was over, I focused my attention back towards making video games, and I took some programming classes in high school and actually got the highest mark in the class. I was still very creative, and around this time was also really good at Adobe Photoshop, so the combination of all these things made being a game developer seem pretty promising. I applied to some universities, and the next thing I knew, I was one summer away from moving to British Columbia for school. Like most people, I was extremely nervous. I was 18 years old and was moving away from home for the first time in my life. I prepared myself by joining some of the university Facebook groups and tried to get an idea of some of the people I would probably meet. While browsing, I found this one girl that especially stood out. She was gorgeous. She was also living on campus, like me, and the next thing I knew, I moved to BC, met her at a party, and pretty soon we started dating. She was my first serious relationship, and I learned so much just through my time spent with her. She helped me realize I should do what I truly love and not work towards whatever career will make me more money or what is more accepted by society. I was starting to lose a lot of interest in what I was studying, and with distractions like video games and my girlfriend, by the end of the first year of university, I failed almost all of my courses. I was barely readmitted to the school. If you finished the year with less than a 50% grade average, you were automatically kicked out. My grade average was 51. At this point, I didn't know what to do with myself. I wasn't interested in my degree anymore. I was so behind school, and on top of all that, my girlfriend and I were moving back to our homes, which are in separate parts of the country, meaning we wouldn't be together for the next 4 months. We were still so in love and decided we would just get through it. We said goodbye, and I flew back to Winnipeg, knowing I was about to have to get through one of the longest summers of my entire life. On August 20th, 2015, my entire life changed. I didn't know it at the time. In fact, I didn't realize the significance of this day until about 6 months later. So you're probably wondering what happened on that day. Well, me, Coral, and Fletch, who is now our editor by the way, started making YouTube videos again. We decided we wanted to give it another try. We all agreed that stopping making videos a few years back seemed like such a waste, and after all, this is what we truly wanted to do. We decided to make one video, and just see how it did. About a week later, I got a call from my girlfriend saying she wanted to break up. My second year of university very nicely splits into two halves. The first half, for the most part, was pretty dreadful. My future plans were constantly at a downward spiral since I was discovering more and more how little I wanted to do all the things I thought I was interested in. I also felt incredibly lonely since I lost most of my friends from first year because I was spending so much time with my now ex-girlfriend, and everything just kind of sucked until an absolute miracle happened. The video that we posted on August 20th, 2015 exploded. Out of nowhere, it got hundreds of thousands of views and tons of people were asking for more. Coral, Fletch, and I, of course, continued making videos. Every video we posted did really well, and all of a sudden, the YouTube dream was rekindled. Sub and Alex, which most of you probably know, reached out to us and asked if we would like to make videos together. We all had unique talents that we felt used together could make a very entertaining channel, so we did it. This now brings us to the second half of my second year at university. It was all about YouTube. Nothing else mattered. I finally found what I truly wanted to do, and this was when I had the most potential to pursue it. Starting in January 2016, Sub, Alex, Coral, Fletch, and I were working on YouTube every single day, and we haven't stopped since. This video was made to celebrate us hitting 500,000 subscribers. I cannot explain in words how thankful I am for the last 8 months. I was struggling during one of my lower points in life, and you guys changed everything. Each and every one of you watching my videos has brought me so much happiness. If this story has any moral, it's to never give up on what makes you happy. Your own happiness should be your top priority. You will face many situations in life where you need to weigh your options and choose if what you want to do is what is easier or more accepted, or to just do what makes you truly happy. YouTube is my happiness, and I hope I get to do it for as long as possible. Thank you so much, from the bottom of my heart.